A special thank you to Community Bank of the Bay and Gary Riekes for their generosity in choosing my father to represent this grant. It's been a little over 2 months since my dad's passing, and I know that if he was here today, he'd be very honored to be a part of this very generous grant. For as long as I can remember, my dad loved giving back to his community. When he was playing football, it was very common for athletes in those days to have jobs in the off-season. During the off-season, throughout the 50s and the early 60s, my father was building his insurance company and participating in the real estate development of an emerging Silicon Valley. In those days, he had plenty on his plate, but he also had a strong desire to give back to the community in ways other than just being a fan favorite. In the late 50s, he started Y.A Tittle Napa Valley Boys Camp. This camp helped young boys learn how to fish, horseback ride, shoot rifles, swim, and of course learn how to play sports. Dad made it very special by having the star Niner players of the day act as some of the camp counselors. I'll never forget asking the great 6'9", 300-pound Hall of Famer right tackle Bob St. Clair in East Texas about how he helped at my dad's camps. He said, "Rookie, your dad's goal was to teach young men, young boys, the lessons that they would need to successfully mature into honorable men. Y.A was our leader, he was our colonel, and when he said that he needed his team in the offseason, we were there for him." The funny thing for me back then was I was listening to Bob talk, and all I could think about was those young, impressionable campers sitting around the picnic table at dinner time. You see, Bob was known, and this is true, Bob was known for eating his meat raw, and that included chicken. So I would just imagine those campers watching Big Bob eat his dinner of uncooked meat as he and his dad were offering their pearls of wisdom and wondering what they must have thought. Over the course of years, I have met many who attended the Y.A Tittle Sports Camp. The stories they tell and the great memories they shared with me always made me very proud of my father. It meant that he was more than a famous football player, more than a success in business. It meant that he was a good man and he cared about giving back to a younger generation. The Riekes Center's motto is, "Got goals, no labels, no limits." My father would not have been labeled a traditional QB, and he certainly felt he had no limits. And yes, he did have goals. His goal was to win the championship. It has been said that my father was like Captain Ahab, chasing his white whale. He chased that white whale for 17 seasons and missed that whale 3 times in those World Championship games against the Bears and Packers. He took his team to the big show but fell short. But still, upon retirement from the NFL, he had rewritten the record books for passing and was named the league's MVP 4 times. My dad is the only quarterback elected to the Hall of Fame that never won a championship. It was his will to win that earned him a place in the Hall. So I'd break up a little bit. Like I said, he's only been gone 2 months. Whether it was throwing the football with disadvantaged kids in Harlem the day after he was named MVP of the league for the 3rd time, or later in life spending time coaching Pop Warner football, he loved community involvement. When my high school football coach, Ben Parks, asked my father to help out with the football team, Dad leaped at the chance. Outside my father, Coach Parks is the man I admire most. Dad instilled a championship 57-49 offense, where we had back-to-back championships with our last season going undefeated. Those were some of the best years of my life. And one of my good friends and teammates from those years is here, Chuck King. My father lived a wonderful life full of accomplishment and great success. He was married to my mother for 64 years and was a wonderful father to his 4 children. He cared so much for his family and the community he lived in, especially the kids. And in the later years, it was known that Dad would anonymously pay for the local high school students' breakfast at Ant's Coffee Shop, which I always thought that was kind of funny because those kids at Ant's Coffee Shop were probably some of the richest kids on the planet. After reflecting on all of my dad's time spent giving back to the community, I have to say how thankful I am to Community Bank of the Bay that they chose to pick him to represent this grant. Thank you, Community Bank, for helping the Riekes Center continue our dad's tradition of community involvement, sports, leadership, and giving back. Thank you so much for this honor. And with that, I give you Bill Keller of Community Bank of the Bay.
Thank you, Rookie. I have to learn to stop speaking after Rookie talks. He does such a great job. We're all here, and we're all here for a particular reason today, and we all understand the legend that is Y.A. Tittle. Legend from the football field when he was in high school in Marshall, Texas, when he was on the college football field in LSU in Louisiana, and in the NFL for 17 years with the Baltimore Colts, San Francisco 49ers, and the New York Giants. So the legend that he created on the football field is something that is well known to everyone, and it is shared by everyone, especially in those particular towns and cities, and also throughout the NFL as he built up his Hall of Fame career, 17 years, multiple MVP trophies, 242 touchdowns. That's the legend of the football player Y.A. Tittle. But my team, my friends, my bank are here not because of the legend Y.A. Tittle. To be perfectly honest, none of us knew him when he was a football player. We knew him when he was doing something much more important than building a legend. He was building a legacy. The legacy of his family. Diane and Rookie are here today. His companies, not one, but two very successful insurance agencies. His legacy as a successful real estate developer here with Renault and Handley, and built many buildings here in the nation's Silicon Valley at the time. The legacy of Y.A. Tittle belongs to the Bay Area. It's ours. It's not shared with New York. They get some of the legend, we get the legacy. And when we think about the legacy, we clearly